Divorce can be your superpower. This is a really special episode, and I'm so glad you're here. Hey, I'm Amanda Carroll. Sarah Lowater, of course, is here, and we have a guest. I can't wait for you to meet Krista Young. She's a certified high conflict divorce coach. Oh, girl, you need this information. She's also a certified Wayfinder life coach. She helps women, men who are going through divorce rebuild their life. Krista, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You guys are awesome.
Okay, so tell us a little bit, like give us like the first quick synopsis of how you became and why you became a certified high conflict divorce coach. Is that because you went through a high conflict divorce?
Yeah, I did. I would call it like semi-high conflict divorce,
Uh,
but the quick summary, I mean, I could go into so much detail, but the quick summary is that in 2018, I got sober because I went to a therapist. He didn't want to go to therapy, so I went to therapy, and the therapist was keen enough to notice that I was definitely self-medicating. So
mhm.
I went on to get sober. I thought that he would probably end up following suit soon thereafter, but it didn't happen. So after 18 months of trying to get him to realize that he should get sober, I realized it was basically deteriorating myself. And if I needed to stay sober, then I needed to file for divorce. So I filed for divorce, and he was about to file anyway. He was moving money. So it just lit a fire under my ass to go do it.
Okay.
But that was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. So then I went through a 2-year divorce process, and I call it semi-high conflict because when somebody is using, you know, alcohol, whatever it is, they just aren't as rational as somebody
Mhm.
who isn't. So without going into detail about that, I don't want to really throw them
Got it.
under the bus.
Yeah.
But let's just say that it was a struggle to get everything divided. Ironically, we had a lot, we came together a lot as far as our parenting, but we didn't come together very well as far as the financial aspects.
Yeah.
So he was the breadwinner for a while in our family. I'm pretty much the whole time, actually, even though when I was making money, I just wasn't making as much as him. So it was hard to divide that stuff up. And he had a
Yeah.
business, I had a business, properties. We had been together a long time, so we had a lot to divide. So I guess if that's that's the short.
Yeah.
And how I became a coach is during the divorce process. It was also coincided with COVID. And once I quit working for his business, which is about 6 months into the divorce, it was exactly when COVID started. So
Ah.
I was literally without a job, which I'm an architect by trade. I didn't want to go back to doing architecture, but what I did is I just hunkered down. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I decided to just take out a paintbrush and do what I had been wanting to do for years, which is do a bunch of painting and just have fun. And I listened to divorce podcasts. So, I can do something manual and listen at the same time. I'm like, I'm learning something about all this. And the divorce podcast led me to coaching podcasts. One leads to another, leads to another. And then I ended up on Martha Beck's website, got interested in that. And then I ended up coming across the lady who does the high conflict divorce coaching. And there's a whole story about that in and of itself. And I took her course. That was an 8-week course. And right after that, I went into the Martha Beck certified Wayfinder life coach program, which was a 10, 12 month, I don't know. It took me about 14 months to get that certification. So after all that, I am now helping other moms who are going through something similar to what I went through, whether it's an emotionally abusive or narcissistic relationship, just to get your feet back on the ground, rebuild yourself. Divorce can be your superpower because it's like I went to divorce, life, sobriety, university all in one fell swoop. And I came out a completely different person, 100% better than I was before I even met him, literally. 18 years later, just fast forward, I got more wrinkles, but I'm like the same person as then, but so much better. So, yeah, I love helping women get through what I went through. And um, it just makes me so happy to see other people become their best selves and be the best mom they can be and be happy. I just want everyone to be happy and live. I'm like a happy, jovial, fun person. I just want everybody else to feel as light and as excited about life as I am. And it's not fake. It's it's real.
Well, I love that. I don't know about you, Sarah, but when I first got divorced, I really thought it was the opposite. Like not my superpower. I thought it was like the death and the end of me. Right?
Well, yeah, and like I know for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of women resonate with this, being in a narcissistic or emotionally abusive relationship. There is this period of time where the other person has truly convinced you that the end of your relationship will be the end of you.
Yep.
And that was a big reason that it took me so long to leave, is like there was this part of me that genuinely believed this was the only way my life would work and everything else would just fall apart and collapse in the absence of him. And I'll tell you, divorce being your superpower is absolutely a real thing, even if it doesn't feel that way, because there's nothing quite like going through, like, rock bottom, if you will,
Yeah.
to realize, like, okay, I mean, the only way to move from here is up, and when
Yeah.
you go through that, you're put in a position that's almost unique to this circumstance, which is I can go anywhere from here. Like the sky's the limit. Which direction do I want to go? And really choosing that direction and choosing that future, which I think can be really powerful.
Yeah. I like to say you are choosing yourself, really.
Mhm.
And I had the sobriety aspect too, so I was already on that growth phase, but for that 18 months, I realized that my relationship really was what was holding me back.
Hmm.
It took me,
Same.
that was the hardest decision I've probably ever made in my entire life was to get a divorce because I thought it was like the end of this like giant institution in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
now I realize, although like dating at 50, I just turned 50, dating at 50 is like, not something I really want to be doing. But at the same time, it's like my freedom level and who I am now, I am such a better version of myself. It's just hard to put a finger on or explain to people the intangible aspect
Hmm.
of, I call it your happy place because it literally is just living kind of like you're on a pink cloud all the time. And like I said, it's not fake. It's real. This is
It's real.
it's just how you learn how to deal with life and live in this world. We're not taught that when in school. We're not taught that growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're taught to like get things. We want cars, we want houses, we want the marriage,
Mhm.
we want the kids, the white picket fence, and yeah, it needs to come from within, and that's what I help women do.
Which I think is really what you do is really, really powerful for a lot of reasons. But one of those reasons is exactly that, showing them what they're really capable of. So through my divorce, it was high conflict. It was ugly, ugly.
Yeah.
And I mean, long story short, just little snides. Like he stole my car.
Oh,
Like he
oh my
turned the
God.
gas off to my dryer. So like I was going to the laundromat to dry my clothes. Like little jabs. He refused to meet me at the gas station to change the kids. He'd make me come to his house and so that he could create this big dramatic scene every time. It was like little things, but they were all really big. And he was
Mhm.
constantly trying. I will remember the day that I went and got an attorney, and realized I can't do this by myself. He
Yeah.
told me, I said, why do you have to make this so hard? It doesn't have to be this hard. And he was like,
Yeah.
he goes, I will spend every moment of the rest of my life making sure your life is a living hell. And I was like, oh, you're purposely making me so hard. I got it. Okay, like this is intentional. And
Got
I
the
went,
memo. Yeah.
yeah. And so I went and got this attorney who at first I was like, okay, now I feel like I've got some level of control, but there's no part of me at this point in my life am I thinking about like, what am I going to do next? All I'm thinking about is how am I going to survive this?
Right.
And this
Yeah.
attorney starts telling me all of these like ways we're going to spin the truth and all of the things that we're going to do when we go to court to spin the truth to get, the win. And I came home that day, or well, I was at the attorney's office and I was like, we don't really, but those are lies. And he was like, well,
Yeah.
it's an extension of the truth. And I was like, no, they're pretty much a break in the truth. Like it's very close to lies. I was like, he's a pretty terrible person. I don't think we have to make anything up, the judge to see that. And he goes, well, then you're going to lose. And I was like, well, then I guess I don't need you.
Right.
And
You're not
yeah,
for yeah.
yeah. And then I
Yeah.
walked away. But when I
Mm,
went home that night, like
good for you.
emotional wreck, crying my eyes out, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I made this commitment to myself that through this process, I was going to come out the other side better for it and not worse. I
Good
made
for you.
this promise to myself that I was going to be able to look myself in the mirror and be proud of the person I saw for the way that I handled it.
And what about
And
the example for your kids?
mhm,
That's the thing
Yeah.
that I tell people is being your best self is the absolute best example that you can give your kids. And it affects them down to the core fibers of their
100%.
being and in their DNA and in the way that their brain is wired.
Yeah.
Absolutely affects every ounce, every fiber.
Mhm.
And that's so important. People don't realize your kids shouldn't be your number one priority. You should be your number one priority. Or
Oh,
faith, if it's faith above that. But because you have to be the best mom, it's the oxygen mask on the airplane thing. You got to put it on
Yeah,
first because they need you. They need to learn from you. They need your help. Yeah.
absolutely.
that was so
Absolutely.
good. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. So I have a sticky question.
Yeah.
And or I don't know if sticky is the right word. I might stumble through this. Okay. So I think all three of us would agree, we still believe in marriage and we think marriages are great. And I also like, okay, divorce is a superpower. Like it can be if you're in a marriage, I want to clarify, that is absolutely destroying you and ruining you.
Yeah.
But I think so often, where's the line when we find out, okay, I'm being destroyed by this, but
Mhm.
sometimes I think we get stuck in the institution and
Mhm.
not realizing, well, wait a second, I had this, because I have this faith background and I
Yeah.
had somebody explain it to me one time, like sometimes, yeah, God can heal the relationship, and other times he decides to heal you, and that's better for
Mm.
you. How do you balance that when someone comes to you? How do you, maybe there's somebody listening right now that's really not doing well, beating themselves up because they are getting divorced, feeling like they're a failure. But I don't think that's a failure.
No, I think it's the human experience. So what I help people understand is there's whether you call your higher power God or whatever, I'll just say God because it's easy.
Mhm.
But there's God's will and there's self-will. So anytime that we're exerting ourselves to an agenda, we are fighting God's will.
Hmm.
So, like, if you're just trying to cling to that relationship and that marriage because of this belief or that belief, and beliefs are not facts, they are things that we have learned from our parents or from society, and they're cultural. They're different across the board. So, how can you say this God or that God's the right God? It's not a fact, right?
Mhm.
It changes. So therefore, it's a belief and beliefs waver. So if you're fighting, it's like swimming upstream or floating downstream. Which one do you want to do? I don't want to be a salmon and swim upstream all my life and then die once I have lay eggs, because that's what happens to salmon. They exert so much energy getting to where they want to go that they die after they lay eggs. So, on the other hand, you can be in a canoe, and let's just say God is in the back, switching around the little direction. I don't know what it's called. The changing directions and
Mhm.
guiding you through, but you still need to take the oar and
Yes.
keep the boat moving,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Or you could say God is the current,
Mhm.
and you're in the boat and you have to be like, oh, I can't run into the shore over there. I still got to steer.
Mhm.
So even though there's a higher power, and my program that I offer is very spirituality based, because once you have a higher power to lean on, you realize that so much else in the world just isn't that, like, how important is it? It's not that
Mhm.
important, like what your neighbor says about you, or what the ladies at the gym are talking about. It's not that important. Your
Mhm.
perspective shifts, you're able to stay present, and I tell people, where's your butt right now? Where is your butt? That's where you need to be. The past is regretful, or you have resentment about it. And the future is fear, fake future. It hasn't happened yet. It's fake. So if
Mhm.
you're sitting there worrying about the future or have anxiety, that's you in fear and worrying too much about what's going to or could possibly happen in the future.
Yeah.
So I think in a roundabout way, I've answered your question in that we have the ability to let go and let God. And
Mhm.
we say that in the 12-step programs.
Mhm.
Let go and let God. And it's not just go, well, all right, I'm going to eat bonbons and lay on the couch. We still have to show up and live life, but we don't have to try to control everything, pretty much, is the bottom line.
So Amanda, with the question that you asked as well, like I love the not controlling, but that question about like where is that line between
Yes.
staying and leaving? Where is that
Mhm.
healthy boundary? And this
Yeah.
taking control and not just letting things happen to you. I mean, it goes both ways, right? It goes towards the
Yeah.
way of like I'm gonna stay because I'm just this is the way it's got to be because
Right.
Right.
life's just happening to me, or I've got to make the decision to leave and then again let
Mhm.
life happen. But what it makes me think of is so last night my daughter, who's 15 by the way, she's just kind of over getting over her first broken heart. And she's really
Oh.
struggling with it. And she says to me last night, and I think this is really applicable to this question. She says, you know what I've really learned through this as she's coming out the other side?
Mhm.
She said, it's really important to be objective enough in your relationship to know the difference between love and attachment, because
Ooh.
love and attachment can
She's
feel
so
the
smart.
same. She's so wise. She goes, love and attachment feel the same and they hurt the same, but love is healthy and attachment is toxic. And I was like,
So it's discern.
Does she want to come on the
yeah,
podcast?
I was like,
Yeah.
who are you? Like, you're 15 years old.
You're
Where did this wisdom
So
come from?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, like, where did she get that from, Sarah? I think
I,
you've been
I
doing
have
a
no
pretty
idea.
good job.
Sarah's amazing mom. Yeah. That's
Um,
so true because you get attached to your history with someone.
or the
Mhm.
And
idea.
then and
Yeah.
yeah, or you're feeling like your obligation
Mm.
and your responsibility. And then what everybody, I think I got really attached to what everybody else wanted me to do and thought I should do.
Yeah.
So I stayed in an abusive relationship way too long.
Mm.
Mhm.
And because I thought, well, what would everybody think? Like you're attached to the person, you're also attached to people's opinions.
Yeah,
And attached to the
absolutely.
lies, right? The
Oh
lies
my
of
gosh.
I
Yeah.
can't exist without you. The lies of the attached to the lies that maybe your abusive partner has fed you, or that you've
Well,
created in
that's
your own head, or
Yeah.
even attached to the fear of the what
Yeah.
ifs, like you're talking about the future, the what ifs. I
Mhm.
always tell my clients, don't cross bridges you haven't gotten to yet. You might not even get to that bridge. You might not ever even need to cross that bridge. You're creating all these bridges in your mind. You can't cross them all at the same time, one bridge at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the F, future, fear, fake, false,
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah, I like to line up the F's because, well, I could say another one too, but I won't. But yeah, it really is fake because it hasn't happened yet. There's no way for us to know. So all the what ifs will kill you. But I think, to get more direct in answering your question, Amanda, is that if you are following your heart and being authentic to yourself, ultimately there will become a point where if you get really honest with yourself, you know the answer. And
Mhm.
the problem that people have is that really, really deep, strong honesty with themselves. Yeah, Sarah, you just took a big deep breath because it's like, oh my God, it's like either stress or relief, but it's relief of that. I think there is a way to know. If you're tapped
Mhm.
into your body and all your emotions and feeling what I didn't have going for me is I wasn't feeling the full range of human emotion. I wasn't feeling that. I was numbing with alcohol.
Yeah.
So when I got sober, then I was like, whoa,
Mhm.
what is
Mhm.
going on? This is not good. So when I started feeling what I actually needed to feel and got really honest with myself about what was going on in the relationship, I realized this is not what I want in my life and this is not good for my daughter. What I tell people is that your children are never going to benefit by you sacrificing yourself for the relationship. Your children will be better off if you are a whole person coming to them as a parent. So if you're sacrificing yourself to be in the relationship with somebody that it's not a happy situation, I won't say blame on either side, but just generally speaking, if you're sacrificing yourself, the other parent probably is too, then the kids are getting like two half parents.
Mhm.
How can that be good for them? There's just, think of your, okay, oxygen mask being half hanging off on the airplane. Like, sure, you can get their oxygen mask on, but if you guys lose, if the plane loses pressure and you can't survive that way, you're not going to get the oxygen you need. So, I mean, maybe that's not the best analogy, but
Yeah.
I think
overall, you just absolutely need to honor yourself. And the way to do that is to get honest, to live with integrity, to have the courage to make these hard decisions, to learn how to discern. Discernment is one of the big acceptance, discernment, letting go of expectations, responsibility, control. These are all things I cover in my program because they are so important to understand
Mhm.
if you really want to live happy and free.
And I think making the hard choices to leave, right, is
Yeah.
what we're talking about right here. But those
Yep.
hard choices to live in that integrity, to
Mm.
stop sacrificing yourself, to make the choices to put yourself first, those intentions have to go so much further beyond you making the decision to leave that toxic relationship and be the best you for your kids, because
Yeah.
you, just like you're only getting half, they're only getting half a parent if you're sacrificing yourself for that relationship. The same goes, and I see this happen a lot, where we leave the relationship and then we allow our identity to become our children. We pour ourselves into our children
Yes.
and we end up sacrificing ourselves for them. They've never
Again.
asked us to do that. They're still getting half of us. We're still not living the best version of ourselves because we've
Right.
just allowed our identity to be our children, instead of saying, like, what can we do to be the best me? What am I passionate about? What do I want to, who do I want to be in this world? And how can I live that happiest life
Yeah.
and stop abandoning myself for
Yeah.
anybody, including my
Absolutely.
children?
I like that you said the words abandoning yourself because it That really is what it is. So it's like, okay, get up the courage to leave the relationship, or maybe the other person left the relationship and you feel like you're just left on the curb or on the street corner or whatever,
Mhm.
metaphorically, and you're just, what now? And you just let the ball drop.
Mhm.
That's not going to do anyone any good either. So why not let that opportunity? It's like I feel like I was given an opportunity between the divorce and COVID. I had this opportunity to figure out who I was. And
Mhm.
and mine was a special case because of COVID,
Mhm.
but you can still do that for yourself either way around, COVID or not, paint by numbers or not, puzzles or not. You can take the time to figure out who you are and honor yourself. And with that, you can make your divorce your superpower. You really can. And I'll tell you what, it'll save you money too, because when you know what you want and you come to the table a strong person, like you, Sarah, you said that you're like, that's not the divorce lawyer for me.
Mhm.
Imagine how much money you would have spent on spinning the truth
Yep.
and how hard it would be to figure out. I don't know, it would be so many hours spent on trying to be fake. Like
Mhm.
where's the
Well,
integrity?
and
There is.
not getting like lost in those lies, especially when you're going through something traumatic and stressful. Your body is going to
Yep.
react to the words that are being spoken, and that's true whether it's traumatic or stressful or not, but specifically in this case. And so if you're spinning all of these lies and you're not standing within your own integrity, you get lost in that. You lose a piece of yourself. And how many years are you going to spend trying to get that back, you know?
Yeah, chip
Um,
away, chip away. We want to chip away at other things, not ourselves.
yeah.
Like in the family court system, we say it's the chip away theory of that. The family court system is, that's many shows. I'm not even gonna go there. But what you do is you take the little wins and you chip away over time to eventually, hopefully, you'll get to where you're trying to go.
Mhm.
But you can't do it all at once. So you want the energy to chip away at that, not it to chip away at you.
Mhm.
So bring
Yeah.
yourself whole self to the table, and that's the best thing you can, literally the best thing you can do for yourself and your kids.
Thank you. I think wherever you are in the divorce process, whether it's you're thinking about it, you're going through it, or you're like, that was like 10 years ago. I hope that when you hear this, it's somewhat validating. Like it's validating to you that you are not broken, you are
Nope.
not missing anything, you are not too messed up,
Nope.
you're not a failure, you are not thrown out with the trash, you're going
It's
through a
not too
human
late.
experience.
You know.
And if you don't think of yourself as the victim and you say, okay, this is just an opportunity for me to choose myself and make the most out of my life, it can be your superpower. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that we didn't get to that you wanted to share with our brave single moms, Krista?
I don't think so. I mean, I said a lot and it was all good stuff, so I'm good with that. I just want people to know that there's help out there.
Mhm.
Don't
Yep.
don't get caught in the theory of that you're broken or stuck, like you were just saying, Amanda. That's not the growth mindset. Let's go for the positive growth mindset. Know that there's help. Go get some books if you're not sure yet, because that's the easiest way to really tap into that type of energy. And then that might lead you to understanding that you do want to do more, and I can help.
Hey, Krista has this reading list of books that you should read when you're going through this process, and I'll put the link in the show notes for you to get that. It's like a free list, right?
It's a free book list, divorce
Yeah.
empowerment book list. Yep.
Okay. That's really cool. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, or like, I need divorce coaching, how do we get in touch?
So, KristaYoung.me, and I'm sure you'll put it in the notes, but
Yeah.
that's my website. You can fill out a form there. You can apply for my program there, which basically just gives me some information about you. And then we schedule a session to actually get together and chat. That's free. Yeah. And then I can just tell you how I can help you. And trust
Great.
me, there's no one that's too broken. This is very important work, helping you be the best person you can be, and absolutely there's hope for everybody.
Any last thoughts, Sarah, on this topic?
Yeah, I just, this was a really incredible topic for me and one I resonate so deeply with. And I think our listeners will as well. And I think, it's so easy for us to think our life is over
Yeah.
because this big defining chapter of our life is coming to an end or has come to an end. And we're not sure how the new book starts. But
Mm-hmm.
to kind of touch on what Krista said, you've got your whole life ahead of you. There is another. This is just the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And I know that sometimes we don't know how that starts. We don't know what that is. And that's where Krista comes in to get kind of really be able to help you, put your feet on the ground and figure out what your next steps are. And I know for me, those steps were just healing. I don't know who I'm going to be or what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to start finding myself and I'm just going to start healing from the shame and the victimhood and the abuse and the emotional baggage I was carrying around. And as that healing started, the doors started opening and the light started coming on. And I was like, okay, I can see some potential next steps here.
Yeah,
And I think it's
bit
really
by bit.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really incredible that, you exist in this world to be able to provide that kind of guidance that I know so many women need. So thank you so much for everything you've shared and for the service that you provided. It's an
Yeah,
incredible
thanks.
service.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
There is life again, my friends.
There is life.
As we all like to say, get your brave on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.